Hello everyone and welcome to Flow State Philosophy. In this video we will be focusing on the most important skill to learn in the 21st century. Before I begin, it is important that we first have an understanding of what the future of the 21st century workplace might look like. Of course, nobody can look into a crystal ball and foretell exactly how the future will unfold, and for this reason, predictions are highly debatable. However, one common idea that has been emerging is that technology will soon take over routine jobs. This idea says that automation will soon be superior to humans, and so a large proportion of the population will become unemployed. I'm sure you can think of some examples in your own life where automation has already taken place. Perhaps there is a ticket machine at the train station where there was once a station master, or self-serving checkouts in your local supermarket. Andrew Yang, who ran for US presidency in 2020, accounts for this automation in his book, The War on Normal People. In this clip, he explains why he thinks Americans should be worried.
What happened to the manufacturing workers is now going to happen to the truck drivers, retail workers, call centers, fast food workers, and on through the economy as we evolve and technology marginalizes the labor of more and more Americans. I think it's going to be disastrous, where if you look at truck drivers alone, being a trucker is the most common job in 29 states. There are 3.5 million truck drivers in this country. And my friends in Silicon Valley are working on trucks that can drive themselves because that's where the money is, where we can save tens, even hundreds of billions of dollars by trying to automate that job. But I was just with truck drivers in Iowa last week, and imagining that community recovering from their income going from, let's call it $50,000 a year to much, much less than that catastrophically, it's going to be a disaster for many, many American communities.
While Andrew Yang and others promote a universal basic income policy to support people financially when they become unemployed, it is not enough for us to wait for governments to build these policies to protect us. Instead, it would be wise to learn the skills that will help us to move through these uncertain times. But what are the most important skills in the 21st century? Academic and author of Sapiens, Homo Deus and 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, believes that one of the most important skills that we can learn for future decades is the ability to be continually adaptive. And here is a clip of Yuvol explaining why he believes this to be so important.
One of the things many people don't realize about the AI revolution and the automation revolution, they imagine it as some kind of one-time event. We have the big AI revolution in 2025. You have all these truck drivers and taxi drivers and doctors and whatever losing their jobs. You have a few difficult years of adjustment. And then eventually you have the brave new world of AI with a new equilibrium. And this is an extremely unlikely scenario because we are nowhere near the maximum potential of AI. The speed in which it develops is only likely to accelerate. So what we are really going to face is a cascade of ever bigger revolutions in the job market and in many other areas of life, relationships, politics, and so forth. So you have a big disruption in 2025. You have an even bigger disruption in 2035, an even bigger one in 2045, and so forth. And if you look, say, at the job market, so okay, you were a truck driver and they no longer need you, but there is new demand for yoga teachers. So you somehow reinvent yourself at age 40. I'm no longer a truck driver, now I'm a yoga teacher. It's very difficult, you somehow do it. 10 years later, no need of yoga teachers, thank you very much. We now have these amazing applications connected with biometric sensors to your body. They know exactly what you're doing with every tiny muscle. As you do this posture or that posture, no human yoga teacher can compete with that. You're out of job. You have to reinvent yourself again as a designer of virtual world games. And you do it somehow. But 10 years later, you have to do it again because this too has now been automated. And even if you get support from the government and there is all these education for adult system, the really big question is, again, it's psychological. Do we as human beings have the mental stability and the emotional intelligence necessary to reinvent ourselves repeatedly? The best investment, I would say, is in emotional intelligence and in mental balance and these kinds of skills of how to keep changing throughout your life, how to keep learning throughout your life. Now, how do you learn that? That's very, very difficult. We don't have a college degree in mental flexibility. But these are the most important tools. So whatever you choose, you can go to law school, you can go to ballet school, but you should keep in mind that much of what I'm learning might be irrelevant in 20 or 30 years. So whatever else I'm doing, I should also invest in developing my emotional intelligence, my mental balance, my ability to keep changing and learning and reinventing throughout my life.
So I think Yuvol has really presented us with a challenge here. He says that we should invest in our emotional intelligence, mental balance, and ability to keep changing and relearning. So the obvious question now becomes, what practical steps can we take to develop these skills? I believe that Cal Newport, author of Deep Work, may have the answer to this question. In this clip, he explains what deep work is.
Deep work is my name for the activity in which you are focusing intensely for a long period of time with zero distractions. So that means zero glances at an inbox, zero glances at a phone on a cognitively demanding task. And essentially my argument is this type of effort, really intense, unbroken concentration with zero distractions, especially if you have trained your ability to concentrate to a very high level, can produce value at levels of productivity that's so massive that it can almost seem like a superpower. Because in most situations, it's only the deep work that actually produces high value, that actually pushes ahead your career, that actually gets you ahead.
For those of you who are interested, I have added a link to the Deep Work book in the description below. To add to what Cal is saying, the process of learning new things involves eliminating distractions and building long-term concentration. We all know that it is exceptionally easy to become distracted by social media, reality TV, or drama among friends. But learning to discipline your attention to focus on what is truly important for prolonged periods of time may be the most important skill in the 21st century. This is what is required to reinvent yourself time and time again, from truck driver to yoga teacher to designer of virtual worlds. Finally, I will leave you with a quote from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi that appeared in his book Flow, the classic work on how to achieve happiness. He says, "The information we allow into our consciousness becomes extremely important. The shape and content of life depend on how attention has been used. Entirely different realities will emerge depending on how it is invested."